How's it going, everybody? Welcome to episode 3 of Strange Deadfellows. Obviously, with me once again, my awesome co-hosts. We got Lindsay. We got
Hello.
Keith.
Oh, I think we
Huh? What? Who? What?
mixed that up.
How?
She waved first.
Oh, yeah.
You said Lindsay and she waved.
Yeah.
Oh.
And then said your name and then you waved. That's usually how these things go, isn't it? What are you fucking with me again? Like, did I miss
Of course
something
I am.
again? God damn it.
We don't have fun here at all.
I'm always missing the fucking EVPs and shit, and then I'm saying things backwards and
It's your from a nipper flam yam.
exactly.
Oh my goodness.
Agreed.
So tonight we're going to be talking about phobias.
Or scientifically, things you're afraid of.
Ooh, that's fancy.
Now, I got a quick question.
Hmm.
What if you have half a phobia? What would that be considered?
Like a chub? Not a full? Right?
A 6 to 9, not a 6 to midnight. Yeah.
Like it's enough to make an impact, but not enough to
Right.
like stop the show. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
Like what we wake up
And that
in the
is also
morning with as middle-aged men is not the same as what we woke up with as 20-year-olds. We wake up with a half phobia. So there's that.
So, Lindsay, what kind of phobias or major phobias stands out to you?
Oh man. Well, I guess there's always the obvious one of like spiders. That's not as bad for me now. What's worse than spiders for me has become like millipedes or centipedes. And
They have all those trickster legs.
ugh. I tried to kill one once and I accidentally like split it in half and both ends were still moving. And I was like, no, that's not okay.
I thought that was just a worm thing.
That's not all right. That's not, no. So those are worse than spiders now. But anything that's sort of like you have trouble breathing is a phobia, like being buried alive,
Drowning.
or like dying in a fire, where the oxygen is like.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously the fire would suck too.
So like more of a suffocation and less of a drowning.
And pass out before flames or anything. And drowning. Because those are all like, ugh.
So just anything that just prevents you, like you're helpless and it's you can't do anything and you just have to wait.
Right.
Like that type of
and
anxiety
it's the
and
slow,
fear.
dragged out.
Yeah.
Yeah. All of that stuff really not a fan of.
Well, that's
What about you, Mike?
scary.
Well, before I add on to that, I will say that there was an EVP there, but I just didn't want to interrupt you.
Really?
Yep.
Cheapers.
Do we know where it came from?
Had it been from Lindsay's side. So piggybacking off of that, what you were saying, not being able to breathe.
Mm-hmm.
I know now I am claustrophobic. And so I really wasn't growing up, but there was one time in the Army, I was in full gear. We're training up to go to Iraq, and they came out with this new vehicle. So it's supposed to be this high-tech transport vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
The problem with it is it could fit 8 people in the back, but you can't stand up. You can only sit down. So when you get in it, you're hunched over. and then you sit down, and then with all your gear, and I feel bad if you're more than 6 feet tall, your head
Oh
was
my
hitting
God.
the roof. So it's like your head had to be downward because it was hitting.
Mm-hmm.
And we got into this vehicle and we were all crammed in there. And we were out driving to wherever our destination was. And I started having almost like a panic attack. It was like,
Mm-hmm.
100 pounds of extra gear on me.
I was gonna say, isn't that? I thought that was like around 80 pounds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, with we were wearing the flak vest, the new ones with the Kevlar vest in it. The Kevlar plates each are about 25 pounds. So you have one in the back, one in the front, and then full ammo. Full ammo, holding our weapon, had our rucksacks. So it was about close to 100, 150 pounds extra. So, which sucks more on a road march, but that's another story. But
Jeez.
in that vehicle, it made me like probably one of the very first panic attacks I've ever had. And
Oh
for
wow.
me, I still can't. I can't. If I'm in a small room with a bunch of people, I start feeling like I can't breathe. I get that kind
I
of
get
thing.
like that. I think that's more of a social anxiety thing for me.
That's how
Like
it is for me too.
and
It's not a claustrophobic thing. It's
yeah.
the
Well, I have some claustrophobia too. Like I can do like the car thing you're talking about, the vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
It wouldn't have bothered me, but things like you see people going through like air vents in movies where they're just like that, or like
Die
water
Hard.
slides that are covered, stuff like that. I can't do. And it's
Really?
just it's I'm not like I can be in a small room, I can be cramped in a car. I'm fine with that.
Isn't
But
it always interesting? It's just always interesting. Like I have the fear of various things involving having trouble breathing and like a slower death and stuff, but with being claustrophobic, that could technically happen if depending on how much of whatever is around you, you could run out of air. But I'm not claustrophobic at all.
is that like your biggest one?
No. So my biggest one, which it wasn't so much when growing up. Like I've always had a fear of heights, always,
I
and
am
I've
on the
always
same
dealt with
page.
it, here and there. And there's been things that I've dealt with it where I've told myself, "Hey, you got to keep going forward." But then you add in airplanes.
Mm,
You and I
And
are
I
on
have
the same page with
I
flying.
yeah,
yeah,
you do.
and I've been on 92 air assault operations, which was different types of helicopters in the Army. I've been on numerous plane flights, both military and civilian. But it's only since retiring and then now having the choice of not having to fly everywhere or being told, "Hey, you will fly." It's like I don't want to do it because just the
Yeah.
thought of it, like I'm right now, just talking about it, I'm starting to sweat.
But for you, Mike, I mean, the whole fear of flying and everything makes complete sense. Like, I don't know if you heard these stories yet, Keith, but uh, it's like we all know people who serve, right?
Yeah.
And have served, but in all of that time, the random stories and things that I've talked to people about, I had never heard this bit about the flying overseas.
Going into Iraq. So I've been on a bunch of military flights, right? So I've been in a bunch of helicopters that have had hard landings. Literally, we're supposed to land so many feet off the ground, then kind of come down.
Mm-hmm.
But instead, it's like kaboom! So
Yeah.
much so that if you're looking out the windows, you'd see the blades of the helicopter flop
That
down.
much of a bounce.
So, yeah. And
God.
there's a lot of stories I remember at JRTC where that happened and people were on the ground and they got their head cut off. But anyway, so flying into Iraq, and I hate roller coasters too, so I can't be on roller coasters.
Well, height.
I know people love them, but I don't like my stomach in my throat. But we're flying into Iraq from Kuwait for the beginning of our deployment. and everything's fine. We're kind of in this big C5 Galaxy airplane that's so huge, makes you wonder how the hell does this thing even fly?
Yeah, it's like cargo size,
yeah.
like big.
Yeah, we had like
Yeah.
3 Connexes and a vehicle strapped down behind us, behind our seats, and we're all like, "Damn, this thing's flying." But we're just sitting there, we're all chilling, it's been a long flight or whatever. All of a sudden, the plane goes zoop, it drops, and for like at least 10 seconds, and we're like, "What the hell?" You start seeing the cords on the
You're
side.
like weightless, you no gravity.
Yeah, they were floating. People started floating that were sleeping. They were just like floating up with their head down because they were knocked out, and people are pulling them in. And then the friggin' pilot comes on. He's like, "In case you didn't know, we're making our descent into Baghdad, Iraq. So, in order to do so, we have to make evasive maneuvers so that we can land properly. So, please ensure you are seatbelted in." And we're like, "What the fuck?"
You're
So
like,
we're all
after they
strapping
already dropped on you,
Yeah.
then they
Yeah,
tell
it's like, thanks a lot.
So we strapped in, and I just knew in my head, I'm like, it's gonna get worse. And sure enough, it was drop, level, bank, drop, level, bank, drop, and it kept doing that for 10, 15 minutes until finally we leveled off, and then the wheels hit the ground, and I'm like, "Oh my god."
10
That's
to
one of
15
those
minutes
moments
back.
where like your balls and your butthole meet in your stomach. Like that's actually a very scientifically accurate way to describe that feeling. That's the closest I've ever come to it. It's like
I concur with that. And so we just like, man,
Like, that's
get
horrible.
us off this plane. And so we got off the plane, but like midway, you through your deployment, you get leave to go home.
right.
So on your way out, you take the plane out, and it does banks, and it'll fire off flares if need be, just to whatever. But my first thought was like, man, when I come back, we're gonna have to do the same thing. So sure enough, coming back from leave, and this time in the C-130, which is the propeller ones, we're coming in and whoop, dropped and banked, and I'm like, son of a bitch. And I hated it. And it just
that's
oh yeah, when I think of flying, that's what I think of. And I've had dreams of being in a plane and crashing and dying. So
that doesn't help either.
Yeah, it's my big phobia. But going back to your arachnophobia, I've never really been scared of spiders. First time I saw a millipede or centipede was in Korea, and that freaked me out because it was in my room. But spiders, I've never, unless it's like a big ass tarantula.
That's more where I'm at now. Like, I'm better with spiders now, but if they're big enough that they have hair on them, then I'm like, Nyeh.
They're a brown recluse. I have a problem with. I'll kill them. Back in the day,
poisonous thing.
Yeah, back
that's
in the day, my brother ended up with these big bites all over his leg, and we thought, oh, it's just regular, bites from something, maybe a spider bite.
Right.
And I remember he was putting stuff on it, and it just kept getting worse to the point where it's like his skin was opening up. And so my mom ended up taking him to the doctor, and they're like, this is a brown recluse spider bite, and if you would have waited a few more days, we would be talking about amputation. And I just remember another one popped in my head. It was the first time I ever saw a tarantula up close. We were at my grandma's house, Grandma Archer, is what we used to call her, at her house in Quail Valley, California. And from her house, she had this open field that went miles. There was no houses near her house. And so we'd go, and she'd always collect the strawberry. Strawberry come in these little green baskets.
Yeah.
She used to collect those. So we grab a basket, and we go out there to go pick up rocks and collect rocks, look at them. And so we'd go walking around the trails, and then something popped out of the bush. And my brother grabbed me, and he stopped me, And I looked at him, and he's like looking, and then I'm looking. I'm like, what the hell is that? And it was like this big thing that just came out of nowhere, and then it started creeping and walking towards us. And I was like, is that a spider? And my brother's like, that's a tarantula. And he grabbed some of the rocks we got from the basket. He started chucking at it, and it started coming towards us. We're like, we're out. And to reiterate, we love animals. It may be some insects to a point.
I'd say some insects and some reptiles, maybe.
Yeah.
Besides snakes, yeah.
A friend of mine had a pet snake for a while, and that thing was awesome.
Okay, there's another phobia of mine.
I was going to say, I knew you had an issue with snakes.
What, pets?
Any type of snake. I can't deal with it.
Just snakes.
I can't.
Snakey
like even
snake.
The tiny ones?
I can't. Like Lindsay went to her friends, and she sent me these pictures. She's like, oh, check out this pet snake or whatever. And it's wrapped around her, and she's holding it. And I'm just
His
like,
name was Rev. His name was Rev. He wasn't that big. He was only like maybe 3 feet.
Brown recluse is smaller than that.
It makes me sweat just talking about it. Like, come on.
He was such a sweetheart.
What about the trouser ones?
The what?
Trouser snakes?
What's trout?
Oh, Jesus. For Fignergun.
Y'all have some pretty normal ones, man.
Yeah, I guess they are. They're pretty.
What would be yours? What would be yours?
I've got the heights one for sure.
Well,
like if I go up like on the 3rd step on a ladder, my body is like affected. Like my equilibrium goes out of whack. Like I'm shaking. It's just. And it's nothing physically wrong, like inner ear stuff or anything. It's just, I hate it so much. My body reacts. My other phobia is like, you remember like on Maury and stuff where they'd be like, here, come meet this bitch who's afraid of cotton balls. And then everybody's like, that's a lie. And then someone brings out cotton balls and she pisses herself and runs off stage. Yeah, there's crazy shit people are afraid of. I remember seeing some of those. Yeah.
Wow.
I have something, and I didn't know it was a thing until about a decade ago, but I've always been so terrified, and this is kind of an all-encompassing thing, but it's called automatonophobia. And it is essentially animatronics, lifelike sculptures.
Yeah.
Like it extends with me like to environments that are trying to recreate something. Like if you go to Disney World and you're on Peter Pan and you're like, oh shit, I'm in the ocean, but I know it's not the ocean. I'm not like tricked.
Small world.
But this shit feels weird.
Uh-huh.
Like that type of stuff. Can't do it. God, dude, it's heavy. Like it really is. It's one of those that there were a lot of birthday parties I didn't go to.
I was just going to say no Chuck E. Cheese for you.
Seriously, before I could like verbalize, I don't enjoy this particular aspect. Right. It's not that I'm 3 and don't understand and I'm cranky. It's that fucking thing terrifies me.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know how to explain to you how that's any different than anything else. And I'm just going to hide under the table and cry. Like, really happened. I didn't go back to that place. It was probably 6 or 7 years until I was in like 4th or 5th grade.
Mm-hmm.
So like age 3 or 4.
Yeah.
And little things will happen. Like there was a couple years ago. Have y'all seen that Jurassic Quest, like the traveling dinosaur exhibit? That it might be a regional thing down here. But they have like exhibits and like a walkthrough with animatronics.
Mm-hmm.
And friend of mine wanted to take his son when it was in town, and I was like, cool, I'll come along. I'm not going through that part, but we're good.
Yeah.
We get there, and there's a life-size replica of an animatronic T-Rex
Oh boy.
at the entrance.
Of course, right in the front.
And
yep.
I had a 4-year-old grab my hand and say, "It's okay, Cookie. Let's go."
Oh.
While I looked down, like that's how bad it was.
Damn.
Oh, what a sweet kid.
Oh, he is a sweet kid. But like, you know, if like fun houses that are supposed to be like haunted houses at fairs and stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm not scared of them, but there was always that, you know, Keith watches horror movies. Keith's a metalhead. He's the weird one, but he won't go in a freaking haunted house at the state fair. And it's like, I didn't want to be like, they're not scary. It's just that the robots freak me out. You know, I'm not going to have that conversation.
Right. To try to explain it. Yeah.
That is a lot.
Yeah.
Like wax museums. Nightmare.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Nightmare. But it's that extreme. I mean, it's the difference between the two of them. That's, I mean, and it kind of goes in. I've always wondered, like when you get into like my fear of that, right? It's because they're lifelike and because I know they're not real that it freaks me out. And I don't know if it's like well, they're not real, but I've seen stranger shit than something controlling that. You know what I mean? Like if I can honestly tell you, if I went, you've seen those things where people go into wax museums and they think it's a wax sculpture, but it's really the real celebrity, and then they, you know, wave. I would literally fucking murder the celebrity as I died of a heart attack if that happened to me. And I'm not even joking. Like, I would rip the throat out as I was falling down because my heart exploded. That's next level for me. But it made me wonder, like, for me to have such a fear of that. And, you know, I know we all kind of, we have our theories and ideas about past lives in a sense of what they mean and how the process works. We all pretty much agree that that's definitely something, but as far as the how, why, when, whatever, some of that's up in the air. And it kind of makes me wonder if, like, maybe I had a job as an engineer or something and had a really bad traumatic death because of like robotics being introduced into something, you know, like it's, I've always wondered about that. And I know, didn't you recently, like you've done some past life stuff pretty recently. I know both of you guys have, but you specifically, Linz, didn't you, there was a book you were telling me about.
Oh yeah, there's books I like, because some of the first books that I got when I started getting into more spiritual stuff, when after my friend had passed and I was experiencing more things, these were a couple of the first books that I got. Journey of Souls, Case Studies of Lives Between Lives. So they're both hypnotherapists, and so this guy stumbled upon being able to get people in between lifetimes. So basically when they're on the other side.
Oh, wow.
Which is really fascinating. And this one, Many Lives, Many Masters, this is really good too. Brian Weiss. I didn't say who this one was. Michael Newton. This guy, psychologist and hypnotherapist, neither of them were believers in much of anything spiritual. I think one of them might have talked about being Christian, but other than that. So when they both stumbled upon these kinds of things with patients, it really threw them.
Yeah,
like I was looking at this one, Brian Weiss, like he said that when a patient came to him, let's see, because some people will, and research has shown that hypnotherapy with past life regression can be helpful in curing phobias.
Really?
Because they've found that there is a link between phobias in your current life and usually a way that you died in a past life. So like you're terrified of heights or whatever. Let's say you go have a past life regression and they go and try to investigate that and everything. In a past life, you fell off a cliff or...
And we've talked about like that too with like that weird fascination fear I have of like open water.
Mm-hmm.
And like how just that Titanic, like I have such a connection to that story.
Same, yeah.
That would make some sense if you look at the deep fascination and connection I have with the Titanic.
Right.
Mixed in with, like, I wouldn't consider it a phobia so much as it is like a minor preference to avoid that causes me discomfort. It's not something debilitating, but it's definitely there. It's almost like a respect. Like if you're a lion trainer and you know this beast could, it's that type of feel. And knowing that, along with the fascination I have with the Titanic potentially being a past life, that's how I might have gone. That makes sense, actually, a lot of it.
Yeah. Yeah, we've talked about how we've both been fascinated by the Titanic since we were little.
And Pompeii.
And Pompeii too. Yep.
You and I both have both of those, oddly enough.
Yep. And fear of open water is definitely a thing for me too. As long as I can see and yeah, I know Mike has that too. Yeah. As long as I can see the land, I'm okay. But if you get like, I'm not going to be booking a cruise like across the pond, you know, like I'm not going to be taking a cruise over to Europe. Like,
and it's weird too with all that though. Like I can be on the water with no problem. If I'm in a boat or something, like I still have a little bit of, you know, I've never been
on a boat, like in the river or in the lake.
But like, and I love being in the water, but I will not swim in the ocean or lakes. Like I just, it's like I don't enjoy it. It's more of a like, you have to do your CrossFit, you know, which I obviously don't do, but it's more of a chore. Than it is.
Right.
I'll sit in a pool or a bathtub or a hot tub like all day with no worries.
Agreed.
But when everyone's like, let's go to the beach, I'm like, no, man, I can see it from up here. It's pretty. I'm in the pool.
Yeah, if I go to the beach, I don't go into the water much.
I'll look at it all day long because it's peaceful, it's beautiful,
gorgeous,
but it's not. My body just rejects wanting to be in it.
Yeah.
Mine is exactly what you said earlier, where it's like the open sea where you don't see nothing around. It's just water. That's what I have a fear of. And so my best friend keeps, you know, until this pandemic started, he kept saying, hey, Mike, you got to come on a cruise with me. You got to come on a cruise with me. I'm like, hell fucking no.
No, I do not.
I don't care
definitely do not.
I don't care how great and awesome these cruise ships are. You have
here's the thing. Those are awful anyway. It's like, hey, do you want to go in like a really dirty fucking hotel that you also can't leave that could go to the bottom of the ocean? No, I don't.
Exactly.
Who would have thought we'd all been like, yeah, I've got this. Are you guys afraid of the fucking lake? Yeah, me too.
Cape Crystal Lake.
Actually, I'd be okay at that one.
You'd be all for that one. You're like,
yeah, I'd be like, cool.
Take me.
Look, I don't have to outrun him. I just have to outrun one of y'all.
That's true.
That's the tactic you have to have. Don't be the only person. Always have at least one other person with you.
That's
that
true.
You'd be okay losing.
Yes.
Because
always look straight ahead. Always look straight ahead, so you know when to jump over that log that's mysteriously on the ground that you know somebody's gonna trip over.
Here's the thing. Here's a theory. Jason, part of the Matrix. You ever seen him run?
No.
No.
Walk fast.
He's catching these bitches though, isn't he?
That's true. They
You're
run
just
and
talking
they
about,
Space
like,
and time is
how did that
anything for
fallen
him.
log end up here?
Huh.
yeah.
Keith, I
Jason's a
think you
fucking.
just stumbled upon something.
I love the way the Matrix explains like the existence of ghosts and werewolves and stuff. They're all rogue programs that are trying to escape deletion, and they just kind of evolve on their own into whatever that is. So that's the whole theory there, is that when you see a ghost, that's an old program that went into complete like isolation to avoid being deleted, since they weren't
Holy
useful
crap.
anymore.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Yeah, they've just been exiled.
Yeah.
I know that's a weird way, but let's continue with, since we've had our long random fork in the road. Welcome to our show, by the way.
But no, it's okay. That's how it's just gonna be, because scatterbrained and everything. But there's like both of these guys have cases where they like, okay, this one stumbles upon because this woman Catherine was going to him for hypnotherapy to help with, let's see, she was having anxiety and panic attacks, vivid recurrent nightmares, terrified of the dark, of water, and of being closed in. Her sleep is still fragmented and unrefreshing. She was experiencing heart palpitations, continued to refuse any medicines, afraid of choking on the pills. So he said he had reached a wall with trying to help her with her issues and everything. Let's see. What did they find? And this brings back to the things that, like, what we were saying, we were always fascinated with Titanic and Pompeii from like a young age, like elementary school and stuff. This doctor, Brian Weiss, he remembered Catherine mentioning that she always had an interest in ancient Egyptian artifacts and reproductions of relics, and just fascinated with that time period. And she was in a session, but he had taken her back to the age of 2, and she was saying, he was just like, tell me what you see. And as he's saying in here, he was completely unprepared for what came next, because like he wasn't a believer in reincarnation or lives or any of that shit. She's like, I see white steps leading up to a building, a big white building with pillars open in front. There are no doorways. I'm wearing a long dress, a sack made of rough material. My hair is braided, long blonde hair. And it says, I was confused. I wasn't sure what was happening. I asked her what the year was, what her name was. Aranda. I am 18. I see a marketplace in front of the building. There are baskets. You carry the baskets on your shoulders. We live in a valley. There is no water. The year is 1863 BC. The area is barren, hot, and sandy. There is a well, no rivers. There are trees and a stone road. I see a fire with cooking. I'm wearing a long, coarse brown dress and sandals. I'm 25. I have a girl child whose name is Cleostra. She's Rachel. And it says Rachel is presently her niece in this lifetime. And it said they always had an extremely close relationship. And he said, I was startled. My stomach knotted and the room felt cold. Her visualizations and recall seemed so definite. She was not at all tentative. Names, dates, clothes, trees, all seen vividly. What's going on here? How could the child she had then be her niece now? He was like, I don't know if this is a fantasy of some sort or a dream or what the hell is happening. And then as she's still telling her story, she talks about a flood that happens. She said, there's big waves knocking down trees. There's no place to run. It's cold. The water is cold. I have to save my baby, but I cannot.
Sounds like a tsunami.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like.
Yeah.
Were there any tsunamis around that time? What was the year?
1863 BC, I think it said. Why don't we just look it up in the old Farmer's Almanac or something? I
don't think there's records that go that far back.
Yeah.
I'm looking at it right now.
Let's see. Okay, so as she's telling that part of the story, she says, I drown, the water chokes me, I can't breathe, can't swallow, salty water, my baby is torn out of my arms. And as she's telling it, she's gasping and having difficulty breathing, but suddenly her body relaxed completely and her breathing became deep and even. She said, I see clouds, my baby is with me, and others from my village, I see my brother. So after going through that experience, because this wasn't the intention of the doctor, it's just what came up in a hypnotherapy session. After this past stumbling upon a past life where this flood happened and everything, she came back. She said, 1 week later, Catherine bounced into my office for her next hypnosis session. Beautiful to begin with, she was more radiant than ever. She happily announced that her lifelong fear of drowning had disappeared. Her fears of choking were somewhat diminished. Her sleep was no longer interrupted by the nightmare of a collapsing bridge and things like that. In this book...
Real quick, Lynn?
Hmm?
Can we kind of agree that the clothing...
This one is a lot shorter explanation. I know that was a lot of shit that you probably have to putz with.
I found a tsunami in 1863 BC in Turkey that was severe.
Really?
And it sounds very Middle Eastern from what she's describing.
Yeah, because it sounded like she was pretty much in the area of where Egypt is. And I don't remember if he actually looks it up or not, but she actually, in one of the sessions, brings up the Dr. Weiss's son and his dad. And he said intentionally he doesn't even have his like diplomas or degrees on the walls. He's like, I don't have pictures of family members. I don't talk to my clients about family or anything. And Catherine started talking about, your father is here with your son. And he said he felt the temperature in the room get cold.
Wow.
Which I found fascinating. So
that is fascinating.
Thinking about paranormal investigations and all that thing. He doesn't know anything about that stuff. So he's just saying what he was experiencing. He said the room was cold and he had never told anyone about any of his patients about his son passing as an infant. Don't remember what happened with him, but so that was just more shit that was blowing, and it blew his mind and it changed his life, and it's a pretty awesome book. This one, in Journey of Souls, I believe is he had a client come to him who had lifelong issues with pain in their throat, but like medically they had tests run and whatever, and they couldn't find anything wrong. And so he was like, okay, maybe hypnotherapy maybe that can make me not feel the pain or something, like with people will do with smoking, like I won't feel the cravings. Maybe they can take the cravings away or whatever.
Yeah.
Stumbled upon, or actually this guy was doing past lives. He's the one who actually stumbled upon between lifetimes, but he was doing a past life regression for this guy. And it turns out that he was in a war. And when he's shot and killed, the arrow hits him right in the throat. And So reliving that, understanding it, processing it, and going through that session after that,
Does
the
that
pain
get
went
rid of?
away.
That's crazy. It's kind of like a phantom limb type thing.
Isn't it? I read
Yeah.
another case study where a woman had like severe shoulder pain like most of her life, and same thing, medically couldn't find anything wrong. Did some hypnotherapy type thing past life, and she had been a man in a past lifetime. It was another battle in a war, and she had been shot in the shoulder.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that was part of her death and everything.
I
And
want to know
pain
why
went
I'm
away.
afraid of robots.
See, I like, okay.
That's
This,
a
like,
weird
people
one to
might
me.
think this is weird, but I'm almost wondering if that's like maybe a possible future life death.
I've told you, like, what I tell you today, like, if I watch Terminator, I love the movies, but it's like, it's a nightmare for me.
Horrifying for you, yes, absolutely.
Yeah, because they're all like, it's cool when it's just Arnold and, you know, the guy from X-Files that replaced Mulder or whatever, fighting it out until you start seeing, like, the
machine part of it.
like when they do the flash forwards and they've got all the T-800s coming out of the ocean stepping on like skulls and shit. I, Robot, that movie with Will Smith.
Will Smith,
that fucked me up like Pet Sematary did when I was 8.
Oh man.
Damn.
See, robots, well, okay. So they didn't growing up and everything. I would say the more I see them developed now, they're starting to make me not so comfortable.
AI.
They're because of AI and stuff. And there was just stories on the news more recently of some company and a bunch of the robots that they had just developed and everything. To work either in factories. I'm trying to think which different ones were. They made one that was sort of like a dog.
Yeah, I've seen those. I think it's Boston Dynamics.
Boston Dynamics, yeah.
Okay, yeah. I thought it was a company and it was East Coast. That's all I could remember.
Well, I guess if we wipe them out, like, do I become a climate change denier now because I know the East Coast will get wiped out and that'll save us from a robot Armageddon?
So you're saying, do we take out the East Coast?
I'm just saying, do we need electric cars until there's not a Boston Dynamics?
Good
point.
That's fucking Skynet.
Oh my god. Oh
god. She was moving and I saw it and I was like, what in the fuck?
Did Zoe just scare the crap out of you?
Zoe, what are you doing,
with her
baby?
cute little flower on.
Are you digging a bed?
Where are you?
Come here.
Oh, Zoe.
Come here.
It's Zoe time for everyone. Yay.
Zoe time.
Zoe time. Zoe time. Zoe, 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 Zoe. Hi, baby girl.
Hey, baby. Oh, are you so tired from all your work?
Look at her. God.
Are you so tired from all your work? She blends in so well with the color of the couch.
Yeah.
But that fucking flower is like bright yellow. And I just saw this yellow thing moving and I was like,
you're like, do I want to look?
What's happening?
Oh, yeah, hell yeah.
Isn't that what the kids say?
Bad dogs for life.
She's my ride or die.
Mike's in a real game. Oh, whoa!
Damn it, that's not how I meant it.
Shit!
I was doing some Dumb and Dumber shit. Now like fucking.
Mike, are you okay?
I think so.
Okay.
I'm good.
Fuck, Lindsay. You got to warn us before the apex predator comes out, okay?
She even got the snort laugh going on.
God.
That's totally not what I was trying to do.
Jurassic Park. It's a movie that's full of fucking CG and animatronics.
True.
And they're gigantic.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's not like they
I
were
think
like, let's make a little
Universal
robot.
that had a Jurassic Park ride years ago.
Probably I didn't go.
I did.
Probably.
They had the animatronic. The very last one. It was a water ride too. Or if I tell this, are you gonna yak?
No, because I'm not on it.
Okay. Like at the very end of the ride is this drop, but right as you go over, like from the top, there's like it's like shrubbery and stuff hanging from there.
Foliage.
And as you go over, a raptor comes, the head comes down right as you go over.
Mm-mm.
Oh man.
Yeah, but I guess movies have used phobias against us too.
Yeah, for sure.
Like
horror
when
films go after that shit because that's, the whole point of horror is to scare people. Phobias is an easy way to go about doing that.
No shit. Do you remember the one I bought?
The common phobias, like we were saying, arachnophobia, like spiders, like
well,
that's
what was do you remember I got that the Nick Cage movie, the Willy's whatever, Willy's Wonderland, where it's like a Chuck E. Cheese type thing, Five Nights at Freddy's, whatever.
I haven't seen it.
I
don't know why the fuck you got that.
Well,
why did you get that?
Because I wanted to see it. But I was texting you throughout the whole fucking thing.
Yeah, I remember that. I'm like, I don't know why you're watching this because you're like 2 seconds from puking the entire time.
It was intense, but I made it through. I wanted, it seems small, but that was a movie I wanted to see, and I was like, I'm gonna face this fear just a little bit. And
okay, so
you had my back.
Yeah,
because I watched it at 2 p.m. too, so it wasn't like I was gonna go straight to bed and worry about a fucking mouse. Are we back in that?
Yep. Sorry, it's
like
our
Rubik's
friendship
cube.
signs. Yep.
But you look at stuff like what horror movies do, like your claustrophobia, Mike, like you were talking about. Yeah, like The Strangers right there, isolation and claustrophobia. You can't leave the house and no one can hear you.
Yeah. Yep.
It's stuff like that. And I think that would be more of a from what you're telling me about your claustrophobia, that one seems like it would be a nightmare for you to sit through.
Strangers was one of the scariest movies in my opinion. I don't watch a lot of horror films like you guys, but when I saw Strangers, I was like, no.
Because there's nothing
that shit could happen.
It's real. Yeah.
The Saw movies is what would freak me out because they were isolated, captured, and had to do certain puzzles to try and get free.
Mm-hmm.
While you're being timed.
Yeah, time.
While you are really wounding yourself.
Yep.
And you're trapped.
Yep.
But yeah, did you see The Mist?
Yes.
Another one. The whole movie's in the damn grocery store.
Yeah.
I saw parts of that. I didn't see
that one. Thing. That's got one of the most theaters completely silent and looks at each other and just leaves moments when the movie ends.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It was a sad ending.
Like germophobia in movies. Think about some of those.
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah.
You look at zombies in general, that's
a virus. Yeah.
And then have y'all seen Cabin Fever?
Yes.
But yeah, the movies in general, they use it against us. And when you look at some of your bigger stories, you look at your Evil Dead, your Cabin in the Woods, your stuff like that, it plays on that isolation, that helplessness, that even though you're in the open, you're still isolated and confined.
Right.
You have that sense of claustrophobia. The other one.
Oh, and even.
That was on,
Oh, I'm sorry. Keep going. I can.
No, go.
Okay. I just thought because these aren't horror films, but they're thriller. I guess you would consider them as all of those films that came out that were like natural disaster films, like that's a very real fear with
Oh yeah,
climate
like
change and all
Twister
that
and
shit.
Dante's Peak and all that stuff. Yeah,
Volcano.
I hate tornadoes. Like I can't handle them.
Twister is one of my favorite movies.
Oh, I love that movie.
I
Not
fucking
mine.
love that
But
movie.
you realize that whole movie takes place like in my area.
Oh no, I know. I know.
Tornado Alley.
Actually, at
I'm right here at the end of Tornado Alley.
when we went to Universal with the Jurassic Park stuff, they actually had a soundstage you could walk through that created its own tornado inside. And you would walk in, and it literally created just from the air vents, like from above and below. It was super cool. It was just right in front of you, this little tornado. Like, you're just like, no.
Yeah, I've seen them up close and almost died from one of them. So
I watched them form and go over like the neighborhood a block behind me.
Yeah. Oh, I watched one form over my apartment, and Super Me's like, "Oh, let me get this picture of it forming."
Oh, I did the same shit, and then I went and hid.
Like a freaking idiot. Yeah.
You don't want to go through that. I promise you. It's
probably, but I still have this crazy fascination with them. Excuse me.
Which could be another past life thing.
Yeah.
Who knows? Because I remember as a child, if I was even 10 years old, I don't know. But we were downstairs in the basement for the tornado warning and stuff. And I had surprise, I had to pee. So my grandma took me upstairs. I went to the bathroom, and after that, I was looking at where the sliding doors were, and I could see that her trees were all like this in the wind. And like I went over to the window, and I wanted to fucking go outside. And like I'm like, this is awesome. I want to see this. And she pulls me away from the window and yanks me downstairs.
Yeah, because those are the worst.
Because they're horrible and people die in them. And I know all that stuff. I just have this fascination with them. I don't know.
That's going to be a no from me, Ruddy.
Yeah, it's going to be a no for me too. All right. Thank you, everybody, for watching this episode on Phobias. We hope that you liked it. If you did, please give us a like, a share, hit that notification button so you can be notified anytime we come on or there's a new episode. And shit.
Where exactly. Is it right here? Is it right there?
It could be anywhere, but just hit it. All right, hit it.
That's what she said.
Hit it. Hit that. You tap that. Tap
you just better hit it, sir.
And with that, we're out.
Tap it.
I want to hit it.
Hit it.